Hi, St. Peter. Principal Heineman here, and I'm excited to take the next 10 minutes or so to outline some of the plans we have this fall. We're feeling very comfortable with it. We're excited for the kids to be back. I know the teachers are excited. Things are changing every day. Things are changing all the time around us. So as of usual, these are our plans for today with some modifications. When the teachers come back next week, we'll be talking more about it to get more routes figured out and those details. But for today, I want to go through again a little PowerPoint we've prepared. And before I get into it, there are some people that have been working really hard the last couple weeks to get ready for this. I want to thank Mrs. Smith, our assistant principal, for her help and leadership in designing a lot of this. I want to thank Mrs. Hanson, who has just been excellent at answering many of your emails, your phone calls, touring our new students, just putting in a lot of hours with that. And Mrs. Kinney, who's been doing all of our assessments. And again, meeting the students, meeting the families, just a lot of good work being done around here, and I don't want it to go without notice. So just thankful for our staff, thankful for our teachers, everyone involved. It's been a team effort to get to this point, and we're excited to have students here in just a few short weeks. So to start, I want to do a quick overview here. There are just some dates on this to review. We have Meet the Teacher Times. It's going to be on August 18th. There'll be 3 or 4 different blocks. Depending on where the classroom is in the building, we're going to spread it out so that not everyone is here at once, but you still have small group access to the teacher for about 15 minutes just to say hi, see the room, since you won't be in the building at drop-off like normal. The teachers are going to email that to you no later than August 14th, so be on the lookout for that. If you just want to block off August 18th as a day for you and your child to come in the classroom, that'd be great. For parent orientation on the lawn will be August 20th at 7 p.m. So after you meet the teachers and do that, I'm going to do a traditional orientation night, but we're going to do it out front. And I'm going to have Jason help me set up the audio in the parking lot. So if you want to just stay in your car, there'll be the radio access to it, and I'll review our procedures and just remind people of what we would normally remind you of, where to park, what to do to drop lunches off, all of those things to begin the year. Our first day of school has been moved to August 24th. I want to remind you of that. It'll be early dismissal at 11:30. There will be extended care before school, but not after school. After school, we plan to gather as a staff and just talk about everything we learned for the first 3 hours without having to do a lunch fully and all of those things. So August 25th will be a normal day. All programs are going to start at 8 a.m. Our doors will open at 7:45 a.m. Masks will be worn by everyone in the building except when we're eating or sleeping. The temperatures will be done at home, so we have a video for that as well. You're going to pre-certify. You're going to answer the questions that are related to COVID, for your travel, for your exposure, for things like that, and you will take a temperature at home of all of your students. You'll then bring out that pre-filled slip to school at the varied entrances for your students. You'll come in the door, and we'll all take the temperatures again. So we're going to double check the temperatures just to make sure when they come in they don't have a fever. And we'll put the slip in, and that's going to be the place where you say goodbye to your kiddos. So how do we enter school? We just talked about that. They're going to wear masks as they come in. The students will need to be accompanied by parents at drop-off. We don't want students approaching the door alone. In the case that they have a fever, they'll need someone, an adult chaperone, to bring them home. The temperature is defined as 100.4. So that's the threshold that we go by according to the health agencies to determine a temperature. There'll be teachers at the door to welcome your students. So after we take temperatures and you turn around and the person taking your temperature stays, the child will see teachers as soon as they come in the door. There's going to be limited people in the building. We're going to discourage social gatherings. Yes, the classroom volunteers, but it will be very limited. So there will be those opportunities. We'll be talking with teachers where you're welcome in the room, but it won't be as often or as free as in the past. If you have early pickup, late drop-off, that's going to be done at the Circle Drive entrance, at the normal front desk area where you buzz in. All of that will be coordinated there. For classroom arrangements, so we've had to redesign some of our classrooms this year, just in how we think about it. We typically like high collaboration and that flexibility, so we have nice tables that are on wheels. You can push them together, keep them apart. Well, this is the year we're going to keep them apart. So we have been creatively thinking for our older students that sit in desks for direct instruction to keep them as far apart as possible. We've removed a lot of the extra furniture that was in there. Early childhood and kindergarten, they will still be at tables. So those students can't sit and take notes or sit and be self-productive So at those ages, they'll still be at tables where they work closely with teachers and peers, but we'll be mindful of who uses what, with them all having their own supplies. They'll be wearing their masks. So we'll be doing our best in that process. The scheduled hallway passing times to reduce interaction. There will be no drinking fountains, but we will utilize the water bottle fillers. So the students should all bring their own water bottle, and they'll be able to refill those as needed throughout the day. We have a unique facility. I just wanted to comment on that, where we have parts of our building that were built at different times, and so they all look a little different. There's not a uniform classroom here that's standard throughout, in the same way that we have varying ages from 2 to 14. So room to room and age to age, they're going to look a little different. We'll be getting pictures and things to send to you out next week when the teachers come back and get some of their rooms put together. So we'll be showing you more of that. Our facility, just to kind of give you an update there, we have assigned and scheduled bathroom use to reduce those interactions. Each student will have their own supply box and pencil bag. There'll be lots of extra hand washing with sanitizers. And in here I put sanitizer cheer. So Mrs. Smith has put together a sanitizing cheer for the students to do as they wash their hands. Instead of singing happy birthday twice or whatever that would be, she has a whole cheer to go that she'll undo another time. I'm sure she'll be putting a video together soon. I could attempt to do it right now, but it's not nearly as fun to watch me as it is her, so I won't take the steam out of that one. So I'll let her have that when she gets it ready. So there's larger furniture, and the seating areas are being removed. There's no more couches, no more common areas for people to sit and be close together, and our goal is to just keep them apart. We have purchased new cleaning machines. So we have a Victory electrostatic sprayer that we actually bought last flu season. So that's where the disinfectant sticks to underneath surfaces everywhere, cleaning it. Mr. Thomas got a fogger to fog the space with disinfectant. We have a hospital-grade mister to spray disinfectant. We bought 2 negative air machines to exchange all the air in a room in as little as 30 minutes. So it will literally take the air inside a room and put it back outside. And that all the air into every room will be exchanged weekly. We have a new mopping system, so you don't use the same mop in all the rooms. What it does is it enables us to detach the top so that from room to room we're using a new mop pad, so we're not spreading germs that way. And again, we're going to meet all the CDC guidelines to clean every weekend, every Saturday. Lunch plans. So we've already noted that we've made changes to that since we first started this journey to school in person. Students that are in early childhood may eat in their rooms if there's no one in their class that has a food allergy. They have tile floors there, so it'll be easy to clean. And again, if we can, the less movement of the students, the safer that is at those ages. So they can eat in their rooms if needed. We've also added spaces in the small gym to have lunch for everyone else. So the majority of our elementary and middle school students will have 3 large spaces to use for lunch. We'll use the cafeteria with the floor-to-ceiling divider that makes 2 rooms, and then the small gym to spread our students out. Hot lunch is being reduced to 1 option per day, and the students will be dismissed by table and small groups. There'll be no long lines where the kids are close together. The students will wear masks unless they're sitting down and actually eating, but even when they finish their food, they'll be asked to put their masks back on at their table. The students will not wait in lines. They will be assigned lunch tables so we can reduce mixing students when they're not wearing those masks. Recess PE in chapel, we talked about that earlier. So our recess will be mask-free and social distancing enforced and encouraged. The classes will stay 30 feet apart, and rotations for the playground will be scheduled. Students in middle school will not change for PE. Outdoor PE will be mask-free, but indoor PE will have masks on with no shared equipment. Chapel will happen every Wednesday in the sanctuary as usual, but not everyone will attend. We'll rotate it through. For example, if 2nd grade is hosting chapel, we can have 1st and 3rd grade in the sanctuary spread out while everyone else watches it live stream. If 6th grade is having chapel, we can have 7th and 8th grade in the sanctuary but spread out while everyone else is watching it live streamed into the classroom. Extended care, people have been asking about what are we going to do with extended care. I talked to Mrs. Fritz, and we are comfortable having extended care before and after school, and we'll keep them separate by their class. So we're putting a concentrated effort to keep 3rd graders just with 3rd grade all day. So if you're in extended care, we'll have designated areas per class. So the 3rd graders will just be with the 3rd graders, 5th graders just with the 5th graders. They may be in the same room, but we'll keep them at separate tables and distant from each other to maintain those pods as much as we can, both before school, during school, and after school. The Restore Illinois phases, we've had some questions about what do we plan to do if the governor changes the phase that we're in. There's a lot of talk about that. So we're in phase 4 right now, which allows gatherings of 50 people. We've chosen to be in school with that 50-person max in effect. If the governor moves us to phase 3, then we'll follow his lead to go down to 10 people in a room. One thing to note is that we are separated from Chicago. So the governor released a new region center, and so we're in a suburb region. We're not tied to Chicago, even though we're in Cook County. So we feel that we have a better chance at this point. If you look at our infection rate in this area is very low, so I don't see the phases moving too soon. But if they do, we can respond. We have 42 rooms that can hold 10 students each. So we have room for 420 students, and our current enrollment is under 400. So we even have room to add students now without us being in jeopardy of not being able to accommodate phase 3. If we go to phase 2, that's the stay-at-home order phase. At that point, we will close our facility and we'll switch everyone over to remote learning. In the full school remote learning, our preschool through first grade will use Seesaw. Our 2nd through 8th grade students will use Schoology. We're asking for 3 to 4 hours of teacher FaceTime that could be used for instruction, for office hours, for community time, for prayer time, for games, whatever that is. But every day there'd be 3 to 4 hours where the teacher was online, accessible to you all. We would do block schedules, focus on core subjects, and our students are going to be trained in all of this throughout the year while we're in person. So that if that ever were to happen, your students would be as independent as possible at home, remote learning. So there is a different remote learning plan if our whole school goes remote than is currently being offered to those that are choosing remote while we're still in person. COVID symptoms. So we took a lot of time, read over a lot of materials, talked to other schools, Catholic schools, Lutheran schools that are currently offering in-person schooling. This was kind of where everyone was at with CDC guidance and input. So students exhibiting a fever or 2 or more other COVID-19 symptoms, if they're here at school, we're going to immediately remove them from their classes. And we have set up where the principal's office was, Pastor Micah and Randy. Those are 3 rooms that are easy to separate and close off so that they're not exposed to other people. So the children will be placed in there with someone, of course, right out front to be available to them while we call the parents to come pick them up. At that point, we ask you to go see a doctor to assess those symptoms, possibly administer a COVID-19 test. And students with those symptoms will require the doctor's note confirming the negative diagnosis. If a student receives a positive result or does not go see medical attention, then they must isolate and not return to school until they've met these CDC's criteria for discontinuing home isolation. It includes 3 days of no fever and other symptoms have improved, and then 14 days of isolation since onset of the symptoms first appeared. So I also want to clarify down there, it's since those symptoms first appeared, 14 days, not from the days those symptoms ended, as well as the wording there where they say other symptoms have improved, not fully gone away, as that's something that's continually changing on the CDC recommendations. The COVID response, if a student or a staff member tests positive for COVID, that family or staff will have 24 hours to report that positive test to school administration. The school will notify the CDC of our confirmed case and will communicate that information to the class that has someone has COVID, similar to how we would if they had strep or pink eye or the flu, influenza A, influenza B. It's a communicable disease that we'll treat as such. The student and the staff and everyone in their household will follow CDC guidelines for returning to public. That was on the last screen. It's currently set at 14 days or 2 weeks from their onset symptoms. At that point, we're going to monitor the situation. If there becomes multiple students in that class that start exhibiting symptoms or get confirmed cases, we'll send the whole class home. If it becomes a more global problem, again, we'll respond accordingly. But if it is isolated and from there we don't see any other effects, then we'll continue learning in person as such. The CDC website repeatedly says when you can be around others depends on different factors for different situations. And so we are just encouraging everyone to have patience. Every single situation is different and everyone has different health symptoms. And of course, in our Christian school, we would really hope that should someone have COVID and test positive, that we would still treat them the same with love and care and ask how we can help. And when they come back into school, that they're treated just as equally as those who have not had it yet, and vice versa. It's really important that privacy is honored and that people are treated with kindness and love the same way that Christ did for everyone. For the remote learning option, people have been asking what technology we're going to use. We are going to use Google Meet. So Zoom has had some privacy things and other things going on. We have our own Google domain. We have our own Google accounts. Every student does. So we're going to use Google Meet to stream in the classroom as if it was just a meeting. So only the students that are signed up for remote will be invited to that meet, so we can regulate who's in it, who's not in it. This will not be a publicly posted link that everyone can just watch what's happening in third grade and vice versa. It will be by email account that we have control over within our school domain. As a member of the class, the remote student would have the same schedules as the in-person students. We're currently finalizing our schedule to try to bring all of those core subjects, math, reading, and those to be right away in the morning, to free up those that are remote to do different things in the afternoon should they please. And so that's what we're working hard on, and we think we got it figured out. So we're hopeful for that for everyone that's remote. As for St. Peter, we're going to provide you with that iPad. Hello ID is our single sign-on, which is a new feature we have this year so that you don't have to remember so many passwords or usernames or anything. We preload it all, so you only have to know one username and one password, and you'll access it all through Hello ID. So at the bottom here, you see there's going to be orientation on August 20th. We'll train you all on how to use that, and hopefully it just makes everything more seamless so you don't have to have all the links memorized and that piece of paper you write all your logins and passwords on. The textbooks and curriculum resources and reading books for students to keep pace at home. The goal of this is to say we're live streaming our classroom so that those of you that have chosen remote learning can stay on pace with us, so that should after the first quarter you choose to come back into the classroom, the students are in the same place. We worry that with us being in two different locations, you'll either go ahead or fall behind. And if the goal is at the end of the first quarter to re-emerge into the classroom, we want the students at the same place for an easier transition. Also, we're going to have Mrs. Keller be a check-in person for K-2. So our numbers have gone from about 9 up to 40 for choosing the remote option. So as such, we have reallocated some staffing time to the remote option. So Mrs. Keller will be a check-in person for K-2, benchmarking, checking in to make sure that you're progressing at the same rate as us in the classroom. And Mrs. Ferguson will have some designated time for those in grades 3 to 5. Our middle school students will have end-of-the-day sessions with various middle school staff during their study hall to check in and make sure that they're keeping pace with us here. The orientation, August 12th. More details, again, will come next week when the teachers come on site for your time. Finally, we've selected our school year theme. I'm pretty excited about this. It's going to be from 2 Timothy 1 verse 7. Fearless is the slogan there. So for God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power and love and self-control. And this is something that we're going to be talking a lot about this year. Not being afraid, being faithful, as well as having self-control and love. It's going to take a lot of love to get through this, patience, understanding, and self-control. I mean, we're not going to be able to go out and travel the way we used to and then come right back in the classroom. We're going to have to make a commitment together as a community to say, we want school in person, and what that means is we're going to need to show some self-control and not be as freely when we're not here at school. Because if we go and make those choices outside of school, we're going to bring that risk and danger right back to our community that we love so much. So if you go and travel, once again, go and travel. But when you come back, just stay home for a week or two to make sure no symptoms arise and that you don't endanger your friends, your teachers, your community. So we're in this together. I'm excited. It's going to be a great year. I know that. And I know our teachers are excited to see all of you, to see all the students. So let's make sure it's a great year for everyone else. Let's all do our own part in it. And then at the end, we'll throw it up and trust God that He'll lead the way. And He'll be glorified in everything that we do and say. So that's it from here. If you have any questions, email me. Again, when the teacher is coming back next week, we'll be sending out even more detailed plans with movement and doors to check in at. If you forget your piece of paper, there'll be a spot just for you to go, as that will take a little longer and be different. But it's going to be great. Thanks for joining us this year. It's going to be an adventure, but I'm confident that it'll be a good year. So goodbye, and we'll talk to you soon.